Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and with Theme Deck format kind of coming back, I decided I wanted to make some of my own because they stopped Theme Decks after, well, you could say after the first year Sword and Shield, which either it would be Vivid Voltage as Lesser to have a Theme Deck, and they didn't do it for Shining Fates. They rarely do it for mini sets, and it didn't really make sense for them to do it then. Then the Battle Styles never got a Theme Deck. Pokemon did release the V Battle Decks, which turned to the I think EX Battle Decks, and they also released League Battle Decks, but none of those are really they're not theme decks. I mean they're not called theme decks really. And so I decided to make some of my own. These are generally attempting to be my thought on what a theme deck could be. Oh, this doesn't have the right number of cards either. I don't know why. I'll fix that in a second. I don't know what I did wrong here. But anyway, yeah. So does the other theme deck have the right number of cards? No. Okay, I added some extra cards. I added extra energies. So there we go. I need to. So drop them down to 18. Generally going towards a 20-20-20 split, but I went with 22 Pokemon, 20 trainers, and 18 energies. First one, unsurprisingly, the battle styles have both they're both based on the battle styles. The first one is based on single strike, and I wanted to go with the regular types for the battle styles. So fighting darkness for single strike, and then the water one is fighting water, or the wrap strike is fighting water. Admittedly, it's a bit underwhelming to have another water themed deck. The three of the first four from the Sword and Shield era were water, but I feel like you just kind of have to do it this way. You could try to do something else, but I think this is pretty solid. So first of all, you have, of course, Houndoom accelerating single strike energy. You have Stonjourner, which is a generic attacker, and then Primeape. Primeape is kind of weird. Steaming Mad Strike is 50 times the amount of bench Pokemon that have damage counters on it. Your bench Pokemon. It's a little weird of an attack. Houndoom can damage your bench, but you need to accelerate energy to do that. In terms of energy, I put 3 special energy in. It felt like that fit, and then I believe I have 1 copy of Urn of Vitality as well. It does run Tower of Darkness. I feel like introducing stadiums back in the format would be nice. That was something that was more common in theme for a while, but then it stopped. Or it wasn't super common, but it was a thing. Then it stopped for a while. There are almost no theme decks that are good that also have stadiums, so I figured it's nice to introduce them again. Um, and these decks are not standard legal as well, but that's fine. And then it runs up Mankey as well, which evolved into Primeape. I don't know why Live is sorted, has broken up the evolution lines like this. But then we also have another dark line. I wanted a stage 2 line in the deck. I went with Crobat. Crobat's a really interesting line, and draw engines are really important to theme decks. Not every deck necessarily needs one. It's obviously better if they do, but I felt like Crobat is a perfect example of one that's pretty decent. You have the Zubat, which is pretty trash, but then you have the Golbat. Golbat has its attack, which is pretty underwhelming, but does 50 for 2. You discard an energy, but when you evolve into it, you draw 2. Crobat 130 HP, 100 for 2. Free Retreat draws 3 on evolution, which is pretty decent. And of course, there's a dark type Pokemon fitting with the theme, which I think is pretty important and pretty fun as well. And then we also have the dark type basic in Morpeko. Morpeko is pretty good. It has a recovery based attack, recovering an item from your discard into your hand. And also, if you have no cards in hand, it does 110 for 1. Otherwise, it just does 10 or 20 for 1. I think this is pretty interesting. Getting to 0 cards in hand is very hard, but the recovery attack is pretty interesting, allowing you to recover Urn of Vitality, potentially single strike score, and depending on the rule set you're playing with, although probably not. And switch, and then ball search recovery as well. So you get a bit more versatility with that attack. Only 1 copy though. And then we do have a setup line here with Indeedee. This is the part I really love. Indeedee is a really natural setup Pokemon with Collect for Draw 2, an iconic attack in theme deck format. There are a lot of Draw 2 attackers. You got Sudowoodo, you have, there's a bunch. But and then Hint Kinesis is really interesting. It has natural synergy with Crobat as well, and it does 10 for each card in your hand. You can get big hands with Crobat, Golbat, and Indeedee to hit big damage with Indeedee, but that's going to take a little bit of setup, and honestly, you're probably better going for single strike stuff, but you have an interesting balance between the two ideas, the very powerful single strike and the powerful Indeedee, and then, of course, these are all just powerful one target attacks, as is our most attacks. Then we have the Scroll of Scorn. I've tossed that in. I feel like it could belong in the deck, and introducing the tool is always nice. Just 1 copy, though, it's not the most useful. Then Bruno, the single strike supporter, is a very obvious inclusion. It's actually very good. unsurprisingly 4 copies of Hop, Swordward, and Shieldbert as well. It's a new supporter. I wasn't sure what to add here. I could see Research, but I feel like this supporter is bad, but that would fit this deck because you want bad supporters because the deck is really good aside from that. And then on top of that, it does increase your hand size, assuming your opponent lets you draw 3. If they let you recover the trainer, you get that, which kind of synergizes with Morpeko. So overall, I feel like it has nice synergy with the deck. Of course, not a great card, but it's fine. I have some Ball Search. Level Ball is new to the set, or was new as a new reprint to the set, so I figured that was nice. Great Ball and Quick Ball. I'll talk about that in a second for the other deck because I wanted symmetry between the two decks. And then I have 9 basic fighting, 6 basic darkness, and 3 single strike energy, which, as I said, you can recover with Earn Vitality. You can discard with Tower of Darkness. Overall, I feel like you have the embrace the single strike aspect while also keeping the feel of a theme deck. You have some cool synergies. It might be a little too complicated for a theme deck, but overall, I like it. And of course, any feedback down below is appreciated. Also, I should probably give a shout out to Ember Power, who made zone theme decks. I might have a link to that video down below there for Scarlet and Violet. I don't think that video followed the set for the preset theme deck rules. Of course, it's all kind of subjective though as well. Or it's I don't know. It might be objective, but we don't know the official rules. As far as I know, I don't know the official rules. Then it's pretty straightforward in that sense. I think this split of Pokemon Trainers Energy is pretty fair as well. And you could play these in the themed format on the new PTCG simulator as well, which I hope the name changes. I think that name's pretty underwhelming. It may have changed by now. Who knows? But then next up, we got the Rapid Strike one. This one, instead of running Indeedee, runs Drampa. I figured that's interesting. Call for Family for 2 basics. Also Spiral Rush for 2 colors. Flip coin until you get tails. It does 30 and 30 more for each heads. That's a classic theme Pokemon. Searching for basics and like a coin flippy attack, very similar to Pyukumuku actually. I'd say it's a little better with higher HP, but still pretty solid. And still pretty balanced. And then we have Glimmer Strand, which we'll talk about, but we have Artillery for Search, which is like the engine of the deck. It's pretty good, but it's not broken or anything. Then we have Minshao and Phalanx. Phalanx does more for each Rapid Strike Pokemon in play. You can get up to, you could get 10, so you could get 6. So that would be hitting 120, which is very good, but that's not super likely to happen. And then we also have Mienshao. Mienshao here is interesting. It's like hit and run. It's really weird, but it is. These are the only options for if you want water and fighting from the set for Rapid Strike. But I think that it's a solid option. It's kind of weird, but kind of like Primeape, and it has that comparison here. Phalanx is comparable to Stonjourner. Noctillery is, I guess, comparable to Houndoom. They're honestly advertised as that way. I would say they're not super comparable, but somewhat. And then in a comparison to Morpeko, now we have Pachirisu. Pachirisu is a pretty interesting card. It just searches for Pokemon, and it's a lightning type, which is actually the deck runs a few lightning type Pokemon because I was not able to round it out with water and fighting Pokemon that I thought were interesting enough. There was a big stage 2 that did massive damage for a bunch of energy, but that's a very single strike feeling. There wasn't really anything else that felt super rapid strikey in those types, but I think having more versatility and typing is a very rapid strike theme, and so Pachirisu fits nicely in here. It is a very much a setup Pokemon, a third one in that deck, which makes it a little weird, but having more like options and versatility is a rapid strike style thing. And then Yamper here. Yamper is pretty interesting, which recovers ball cards, which works with the Galarian Mr. Rhyme and Galarian Mr. Mime. For those of you who love balls, you have ball juggling. For 2 colors, discard any number of item cards that have the word ball in their name from your hand, and it does 40 more for each card discarded in this way. So this can be very powerful for big burst attacks, but it doesn't play a lot of ball cards. I think it plays 7. Yeah, so 2 level balls, 2 great balls, 2 pokeballs, and 1 quick ball. As I said, I think quick ball is a nice addition to themed. Evo Incense was in like one theme deck. I feel like Quick Ball could be in a couple of theme decks, and it would feel pretty reasonable like that. It's a very good card, obviously, but I feel like it's fair as well. In terms of other trainers, I'll talk about these real quick. Tower Waters, unsurprisingly here. Rapid Strike Scroll of Swirls, which is nice. We play 2 copies because we don't play Earn of Vitality. The, I guess, comparable card to Earn of Vitality is technically supposed to be Fan of Waves, but that is essentially useless in this format and themed, so I figure that wouldn't be a great option, so I add Scroll of Swirls Scroll of Swirls, not Squirrels, for more spread, and then you have the Rapid Strike energies and Fighting and Water energies to power that stuff up. Oh, Super Rod should be Ordinary Rod, and that's not in Standard. I need to add that, because that's like a staple for Theme Decks. This deck doesn't run Switch. I was considering adding it. Obviously, that has synergy with the Map Strike, but then I don't feel like I could fit the ball cards in as well either. So yeah, we have Swordwind, Shieldbert, Hop as well, and then Karina's Focus, which is comparable to Bruno, and it's a very solid card, especially with Octillery. It's actually not that good because you'll generally have big hands, but you have a decent amount of items, so you should be able to thin your hands, hopefully, maybe not. But then you do have the Pachirisu, the Drampa, and even this Galarian Mr. Mime, which searches for an item for 2 colors. So you have decent setup attacks. So even if your Octillery isn't able to draw that supporter, and you're not able to get any value out of it, you can still get value out of setting up with Drampa, Galarian Mr. Mime, and Pachirisu. And then Yamper here does recover 2 ball cards, or it recovers a Pokeball and a Great Ball from your discard to your hand, which is really nice. But obviously that's kind of situational. It will add 80 more damage to your Galarian Mr. Rime though, or allow you to go ahead and search for more stuff. It's a pretty good card. I think you have this interesting dynamic with this deck. It's more complicated, arguably a little too complicated for theme, but I don't think so. I think it's pushing the boundaries, but I think it's pretty cool and a very fun deck all in all. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts down below. I tried to embrace it with Battle Styles based cards, the Galarian Mist Rime and Yamper are Battle Styles cards, the Crobat line is, all that stuff. Pretty much all of it's Battle Styles except for obviously the basic energies, and then some of, wait, did Battle Styles have basic energies? I don't think it did. Yeah, anyway, so aside from the basic energies and then like a few of the trainers like Quick Ball, Hop, and Great Ball, and like Pokeball, they're not, but for the most part, they're Battle Styles Pokemon. And I felt like the Battle Styles set is really interesting, and I'm really sad that they kind of stopped doing theme decks. But if you have any critiques and think that they should be changed, and as I said, my goal was to make them comparable to the older theme decks, because not necessarily in power level, although I was kind of trying to, but I just wanted to give them some interesting cards as well. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing. I think I'm going to play with these decks at some point. We'll see. But I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.